Hi, everybody. This is Chevy Cool Lady. I have a very interesting topic for you today. Can a Christian have demons? Well, I'm not going to discuss the ins and outs of it. I'm just going to say that at one particular point, in fact, most of my Christian life, I would have said no. I would have said it's unscriptural. However, I never really studied the scriptures concerning this. I just took what other people taught me and ran with it. But now I'm reconsidering. Sometimes you have to trash your old theology to grasp at what really is true and what is supported by the scriptures. Well, today I'm not going to go into the full depth of it, although I will at a later junction. But in doing my studies, of course, I came across one of the world famous exorcists, Bob Larson. You might be familiar with him, a controversial figure with a controversial message. However, this man did an episode that's joining our theory on a local pastor, John Paul Miller. So, what is the theory? Does John Paul have demons? Well, he said he did. Why should I think he's lying? Hey, let's look into what Bob Larson has to say. Y'all might have missed this interview as well. So, we're going to do a little reaction to it. I'm going to stay away from the theology in this particular episode, and we're going to get down and dirty with the down and dirty John Paul Miller. So thanks for joining me. Please like, please subscribe. I depend on y'all to get these algorithms doing their thing by interfacing with me. I appreciate you so much. Engage, comment, anything you want to do. I really appreciate you. Thanks. Now, what I want you to remember is Bob Larson did this episode over 9 months ago, so the case was relatively new. We haven't yet hit the year mark, as you know. And so some of the information is correct, some of the information is the official law enforcement version of what we've been given. And some of the information wasn't quite right. So I did edit in the long version of does your pastor have a demon? Which I would highly recommend y'all to watch, along with all deliverance videos to learn more about deliverance. But that's a whole nother video for a whole nother day. So we're just going to go continue. I just wanted to throw that in so that you don't beat me up in the comments or anything like that. I realize that some of the information has been clarified since this time. We've learned a whole lot more about John Paul since this particular episode was made. I just thought on the level of what does an exorcist have to say? What does a guy who does deliverance every single day for the last 40 years have to say about the John Paul Miller case? What does he think about this particular pastor? Later on, you're going to see that he has a lot of questions. We'll put a little tidbit in at that time on it.
His name is John Paul Miller. Many of you know about this story. It's gotten a lot of press coverage. His wife is named Micah. April 27th of this year, Micah Miller, age 30, was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in North Carolina's Lumber River State Park. Her death shocked the Myrtle Beach community, South Carolina, where she lived with her husband, Pastor John Paul Miller. The pair had been fighting, were separated, and Micah had filed for divorce 2 days before she died. Robeson County investigators determined that Micah purchased a 9mm handgun from a pawn shop. In a 911 call made to Robeson County at 2:54 p.m., which was shared by the sheriff's office, Micah was heard asking a dispatcher if she can track down her location. The dispatcher said, yes, she could do it. But why do you want us to know your location? And Micah said, I am about to kill myself. And I just want my family to know where to find me. And then we've showed you a picture of her actually at the pawn shop buying the gun. What a beautiful young woman. Why? Well, there's more to this story. In an affidavit filed seeking protective orders against her husband, she warned family members that, quote, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP, referring to John Paul Miller, her husband. Well, after we're not going to go there because the police determined that it was, her husband, John Paul, gets up in front of the congregation and preaches a sermon like nothing ever happened. They were estranged. She had filed for divorce. There was a lot going on, but this is his wife. So he gets up, and a lot of people don't know she's been dead yet. He gets up in front of the congregation, laughs, jokes, smiles, according to people who were there, preaches his sermon, and then at the end of the sermon he says, oh, by the way, my wife committed. So there he is, standing at the pulpit of the Solid Rock Market Common Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The audience is in shock. And then he orders them not to speak about it as they are leaving the church, not to discuss it. By the way, this Pastor Miller has a criminal record including multiple counts of aggravated assault and battery to which he pleaded guilty. There's more. So we have some direct quotes from this pastor. Now, this is a pastor, all right? This is before, while they were going through their period of struggles in their marriage. And these are quotes from texts. So these are not hearsay statements. On one occasion, he warned that he was on his way to his wife's sister's home, quote, armed and ready. That was just November of 22. And then he bombarded them with some very bizarre texts. One of them said, all of this started because of one bad decision a month ago in Colombia. He whined, if I could turn back time, I would. We had the greatest marriage in the world up until that one wrong choice. We don't know what that was. We don't know if there was a wrong choice. We don't know anything. She's dead. She can't speak. But this is what he was alleging. Now, let's remember what I said about this guy's criminal record. We'll get back to that more in a moment. At one point, he sent a text saying to his wife, my blood is on you and my kids will know. All you had to do was come home to me, but you didn't even care that much about me. That's a little whiny, if you say. Now listen to this. Okay, this is another text. He called his wife. This is a pastor. An effing B word. After she tried to get him arrested. Think maybe this guy's got some demons? Look, we are not in a position to know what was going on in that marriage. No matter what. A man of God does not call his wife an F and B word just because they're having a dispute. So back to this announcement in the church. People were there saying that said he wasn't distraught at all about his wife killing herself. All he wanted them to do was not discuss the death at the church. He did tell people that his wife's death was self-induced and that she was mentally ill. Well, if she was mentally ill, why wasn't he getting her the right type of counseling. Maybe she refused. I don't know. Why wasn't he getting her some deliverance, some healing prayers, some inner healing? He eulogized his wife that Sunday morning, saying, everyone knew how beautiful she was on the outside, but only a spouse knows how beautiful that person is on the inside. Is this the same guy who just called her an effing you know what? He praised her love for the church and mission work, and he said, quote, I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week. Who's the mentally ill person here? And who is this pastor? All right, get ready for this. He's been accused in court documents of grooming his wife for years before they wed, having her committed to a hospital to steal her car, and cheating on his first wife with underage churchgoers. It gets worse. 1997, prosecutors dropped charges in a series of alcohol and cannabis related cases against the pastor in a negotiated outcome. One of the charges that he negotiated away was contributing to the delinquency of a minor. After all of this, he did get kicked out of the church. Finally, somebody took action. John Paul Miller, age 44, was released from his duties at Solid Rock Church at Market Common Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And here's the decree that was read. And this is apparently somebody on the board who made this statement. I, Charles Randall, by the authority vested in me as overseer, hereby release Pastor John Paul Miller. Release should have kicked his butt out of there to put a plate. Okay, you don't just release him, kick him out. This is crazy. But anyway, they're being politically correct here. John Paul Miller from all ministerial functions for a time of healing, counsel, guidance pursuant to our government instrument. That is such a woke statement. I can't believe it. It's sad. Now, I'm not trying to criticize this guy. I don't know him. No. With somebody who's got a history like this, all this information I've just shared with you, was the church not doing some investigation? Did they not look into this? We're going to release him for a time of healing, counsel, and guidance? No, they should have hung out that you are not ever welcome here again sign to this guy. Now, I'm not being ungracious. God could turn this man's life around, but I don't know him. I'm just, looking at the facts here, and I'm saying this guy has got demons. Finally, somebody took action. John Paul Miller, age 44, was released from his duties at Solid Rock Church at Market Common Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And here's the decree that was read. And this is apparently somebody on the board who made this statement. I, Charles Randall, by the authority vested in me as overseer, hereby release Pastor John Paul Miller. Release should have kicked his butt out of there to put a plate. Okay, you don't just release him, kick him out. All this information I've just shared with you, was the church not doing some investigation? Did they not look into this? No, what they should have said, he's released from ministerial functions for healing, counsel, guidance, and deliverance and exorcism to get rid of his demons. But of course, they don't believe in that church. Most likely the Christians can have demons, and that's the problem. He should have been given permanent walking papers. So what can we take away from this terrible event? All right, Clark, I know we don't have all the facts, but we certainly can speculate to a certain extent on these strange events regarding this tragedy. And I've got 7 questions I want to ask that church and the leadership. Now, I know they were caught up in a firestorm and maybe ill-equipped to know how to handle this. But that's a lot of the problems today in these ego-driven mega churches. The pastor is a demigod. Come on, let's be honest about it. And the sycophants around him just are given lip service, and there's really no serious accountability. And I could name some of the major pastors. Now, not all of them. Not all of them. Some of them are legitimately accountable, but many of them are not. So let's ask these questions. First of all, how does a pastor expect of his wife and just casually comment on it in his sermon next Sunday morning? First of all, even if they were estranged, even if there was a problem, he should not have been in the pulpit. Okay? If he was glad to see her dead, I don't know. Grieving, I don't know what he was doing. But how can a man, even if you're having problems with your wife, next Sunday morning, go ahead and preach like nothing ever happened and add the postscript at the end? Oh, by the way, my wife killed herself. Don't talk about it. Second question. Why had the church checked into this guy's past and vetted him for the pastorate? The guy had a criminal record. I detailed it for you. A serious criminal record. Would that have necessarily disqualified him for the pastorate? I know what you're thinking. Well, Paul killed Christians. That I don't think that's apples and oranges. No. This guy has personal serious flaws. Now, of course, what the Apostle Paul did was wrong, but he was acting as an agent of a religious system that did have the power of capital punishment in limited situations regarding religion within the realm of Rome, and he saw himself as doing the will of God. That's not what we've got here. And that raises a question, are we just going to have loosey-goosey, sloppy, agape approaches to people in the pastorate? Now, we know God saves people from extraordinary circumstances. We know no one's perfect. We know anybody can fall, anybody can make mistakes, etc. But the guy's got a criminal record. That's a little bit different from a lack of judgment or a fall from grace. It's a criminal record. Did they know that? Of course, he didn't tell them. That's my assumption. And it seems to me if you're going to hire a pastor, you want to know if the guy's done time and if he's been accused of crimes. I've asked a couple of questions. So let's go back over them again. How does a pastor get up the next Sunday after his wife shot herself and even preach and even keep a straight face in front of the congregation? Secondly, why didn't the church check into this a little better? Third question, if this marriage was in such a state of crisis, why didn't the pastor take a sabbatical to sort things out instead of sending profanity-laced text messages to his wife? She may have had mental problems. We don't know. We only have his word for it now, but we do know he's got mental problems. So if the marriage is, and sometimes it's real difficult in ministry because some pastors have come to me, they've got problems in their marriage, but who are they going to go to? Who are they going to talk to? They'll come to somebody like me because nobody can pull my strings. Okay? I'm going to say what I'm going to say, always have and always will. I'm going to lay it out there, and they know that, and that's why they come to me. But why didn't he just say, I need some time off? I don't think his ego would let it, but that's a personal opinion. But I just don't think in most cases, a lot of the pastors, powerful and influenced churches will do that. And because of the finances, and they're under an awful lot of pressure because they got these big buildings, these big programs, all this stuff going on. They got budgets to meet. Well, they take time off, that could crash because it all comes back to them. My fourth question is this. What was this guy thinking when he considered raising her from the dead? Now, honestly, that's wacko. That's just wacko. At least indirectly, it appears as though he had some culpability in the situation. I mean, the names he called her, the way he treated her now, that might have been reciprocal. We don't know. But what he did do and what we do know, now he's so anointed by God, he's going to raise her from the dead. That's bizarre. Is this what the church has come to? Question number 5. Why is it this pastor going through some inner healing and deliverance now? In spite of everything I said tonight, if this pastor got in touch with me, I'd complimentary spend as much time as necessary to take him through deliverance. We've got wonderful Do What Jesus Did teams and associate ministers on the East Coast that would, in a moment, without judgment, just leaving all these facts behind, reach out to this man and help him. But he's not looking for inner healing deliverance. Who knows if he even understands what that is? And he doesn't believe that Christians can have demons. That I'm pretty sure of that. So you see the box he's in. The church can't recommend deliverance. They don't believe a Christian could have a demon or a pastor could have a demon. And he doesn't believe it, so he can't reach out for help. This is what we've come to in America by denying deliverance, by denying exorcism, by denying that anybody can be tormented by the devil and need that kind of help. Because you're a continualist doesn't mean that you believe in deliverance. Okay. The God Pod. Many churches don't teach spiritual warfare. That's absolutely true. So here's my next question. My 5th question is, why is it this pastor going through some inner healing or deliverance now? A 6th question is this. Why didn't the church leaders, when they found out about this man's wife killing himself, immediately remove this man from pastoral responsibilities? Why didn't they do that immediately? Why did they allow him to get up and preach that next Sunday? Is everybody gutless here? My 7th question is this. Is this a tragic example of America's church crisis of personality-driven leadership? It depends too much on a single person's charisma to draw adherents, no matter how flawed that individual may be. And I would say, yes, that's exactly what we have here. And that's sad. All of hell is arrayed against us. The devil has come down with great fury. He knows his time is short. We can see the signs of the times. The church is in a battle, but many pastors don't act like they're in a battle. It's almost like a circus sideshow in some cases. And yet, in spite of all of that, we allow a single person. Now, I know pastors have to be strong leaders. I understand that. And called mightily of God and lead the church. I get that. But when it's built around the person, how cool they look. Do you have the skinny jeans, the white sneakers, and the right t-shirt? Okay. Honestly, some of them just seem to me they're more concerned about how they look than what they say, what comes out of their mouth. Now, I know that I'm really skirting the edge of some serious consequences of what I'm saying, but I've got to say it.
I want to thank everybody for sticking with me to the end to hear this very valuable information. The subject itself is controversial, like I said in the beginning, but I do believe that Christians can have demons, and if they're in need of deliverance, we need not to hold our own theology and our own thoughts to prevent them from getting the deliverance that they need. And when we have a pastor who's over a great many people, who's responsible for the souls of these people, then the pastor needs to be held accountable. And if you're a pastor or a Christian, especially one in a position of prominence who needs deliverance, then I pray you'll seek deliverance and be free. Because the damage that's done by a demon infested so called Christian or a Christian who's in a leadership position who is influenced by demonic thoughts and activities needs to be delivered and needs to be out of that position for whatever amount of time is indicated. We need the boards, we need the elders, we need the people in leadership in churches to stand up and do their job and protect the congregants. When I say that this is the church's fault for allowing it, I'm speaking about the leadership. There's a lot of good people who had no idea what was going on, but not everybody is a babe in Christ. And some people are also gifted in the spirit and need to act on those gifts when you sense that these things are not right and are not scriptural. And I'm here to encourage you guys to do that. I love you in Jesus' name. I want us all to be well and to be healthy. And I pray especially for the Jane Does and John Does who were affected by this particular ministry in negative ways. I pray for all the protesters and the family and friends of Micah especially. I thank you guys for joining me. I love you. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.